आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनकही कहानियाँ। आइए हम सुने विज्ञान की अनसुनी कहानियाँ। एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Celebrating Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we bring you a podcast series on STEM popularization, science, technology, engineering, mathematics and medicine, supported and catalyzed by the National Council for Science and Technology Communication, Government of India. This program is produced by Media for Community Foundation. Creative content and technical support is given by Purvasha Banerjee and Shushanto Das.
एक नई दुनिया की आवाज़ आपकी आवाज़, विज्ञान की आवाज़, की आवाज़, की आवाज़।
Vigyan Ki Awaaz podcast series aims to popularize new ideas of science and technology, which highlight STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, and medicine. This brings to the surface the efforts and researches of Indian scientists, which is desired to bring a change in community learning and teaching, access to knowledge of resources, and social paradigms. Our goal is to spread the name of indigenous Indian research stories and their masters among the masses of society in a very easy manner. Bose Institute was set up in 1917 by Sir Jagadish Chandra Bose, the founder of modern science in the Indian subcontinent. It is Asia's first modern research center devoted to interdisciplinary research and bears a century-old tradition. The institute was founded as not merely a laboratory but a temple, with its principal aims being the advancement of science and diffusion of knowledge. Swami Vivekananda, Sister Nivedita, whose influence is reflected in the institute's emblem of Vajra, was significant in the setting up of the institute, and Rabindranath Tagore were among those who had consistently inspired and supported Jagadish Chandra Bose in his endeavors. Ever since the establishment of the Department of Science and Technology, Government of India in May 1971, Bose Institute has been an autonomous grant-in-aid institution of DST. Over the last century, the institute has endlessly strived to preserve the legacy of its illustrious founder. In this podcast, we are happy to present Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee, Associate Professor in the Department of Chemical Science in Bose Institute. He is working on one of the most talked about crises of present era, that is air pollution. Let's hear from his own voice about his area of research.
I am Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee. I am an associate professor in the Department of Chemical Science in this institute. I am actually a chemist who deals with several environmental, to be specific, atmospheric changes. So my background was chemistry in my graduation and post-graduation, and then I did my PhD from University of Calcutta, and my topic was several kind of air pollutants characterizations, how they form, how they transform from one chemical form to another, what is their effect over the coast of Bay of Bengal, mostly over the remote areas of the near the Bay of Bengal. And then I joined one of the ISRO center called NARL, or National Atmospheric Research Laboratory in Tirupati, as a postdoc, and after completing my postdoc, I joined Bose Institute in 2010 as a faculty. And since then, I'm working on air pollutions and the quality of air that we breathe. So several type of chemical characterizations, the sources of air pollutions over different environments. So I would love to introduce myself as an air pollution and air quality expert.
Dr. Chatterjee has an explanation of his area of studies.
My job is to understand various chemical reactions in different spheres of environment, to be specific atmosphere, to be more specific the lower atmosphere where we live. So what are the several type of air pollutants that are generated, to identify the major sources of those air pollutants, whether it is natural or the anthropogenic or man-made activities. So I work on different types of environment, for example, typical urban city like Kolkata or several other urban stations across the Indo-Gangetic Plain, which is the most polluted area in Asia, as well as several remote stations, rural atmosphere, and even the high altitude atmosphere over the eastern part of Himalaya, where one of our campus is there in Darjeeling. So I basically work on the several types of air pollutants, their fundamental chemistry, their fundamental changes from one form to another, how that affect not only our human health, but how they affect the climate, several climate changing parameters, how they govern them, and for example, how they modify the structure and the morphology and the physical and chemical characteristics of clouds, and hence how it in turn affects the precipitation on rainfall. So one of the government of India's national program is called NCAP, or National Clean Air Program. So it was launched by the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change in 2019. And since then, around 131 cities in India have been identified as the most polluted cities. So what Government of India has done, they have designated one institute and one faculty as the nodal institute and the nodal faculty for each of the polluted city to take care of and to deal with the respective pollution control board and other urban local bodies to deal with to go for this kind of air pollution mitigation program. So for the city of Kolkata and two other cities called Howrah and Barakpur in West Bengal, these three cities where Bose Institute is acting as an institute of repute or the nodal institute, and I am acting as the nodal faculty who is actually taking care of the air pollution mitigations program, like framing the policies, building the strategies, how to mitigate the air pollutions over these cities. These are my job right at this moment. In addition, I am also working on the fundamental chemistry and fundamental physics of the atmosphere.
Dr. Chatterjee introduces himself as the Doctor of Air. He speaks on how to mitigate air pollution, and he also shared his views about Kolkata.
It depends on the atmosphere where you are working on. For example, over Kolkata, there are several anthropogenic sources, man-made activities are there. So out of them, even in the recent times, the vehicular emissions and the solid waste burning, biomass burning, and the dust particles, it may come from the construction and demolition activities, or it may come from the road dust, which is actually gets suspended because of the movement of the vehicle. So these are the major sources of Kolkata, has been identified as the major sources of air pollutants over Kolkata. So what we do is we work directly or interact directly with the urban local bodies, for example, Kolkata municipal corporations, because they are the key implementing agencies or the body or the organization, whatever you call, those are actually implement how to mitigate these air pollutions. So I deal with them, and I also, there are several stakeholders, for example, the transport, and the electrical department, parks and squares. So all together we sit and we just frame the policies, build the strategies, both in the micro level as well as the macro level, both in the short term and the mid term and the long term scale, how to mitigate the the air pollutions over Kolkata. If you talk about the results, it's first of all, let me define our job. We are actually the doctors of the environment, right? So we diagnose the disease, we diagnose the problem. We also prescribe the medicine. That means that we are prescribing the medicines, but the job of urban local body and the government is to feed the medicine to the patient. Okay, yes. So what we do is whatever the policies are being taken, whatever the strategies are being built up, they are getting implemented. But still, I will say there are few responsibilities which cannot be ignored from the point of view of the citizens. Okay, there are significant role of the citizens to make the air of Kolkata or any city clean.
Dr. Chatterjee explained the role and responsibility of the citizens to keep the air clean.
First of all, they have to be aware enough. They should realize and they should understand and they should realize that environmental degradation or air pollution is indeed an issue in their life. So unless they realize this, they won't be able to understand what is actually going on, how the environment or atmosphere is getting degraded. Okay, so littering and from the point of view the solid waste disposal in the unscientific way, or these are the major issues that the citizens should play the key role. So for that, I also admit our government and whatever the research institutions, whoever engaged in this such kind of program, they should increase, and it is being done, the number of awareness program within the common people.
Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee mentions his collaborators who are working in the same field.
This National Clean Air Program or any other air pollution related program or activities are going on everywhere in India, across the country. So I also, as I mentioned, that I also work on the Himalayan climate change and the air pollution and air quality over the Himalaya. So I collaborate with several institutes along the Himalaya, high altitude research centers, maybe in Kulu, in Mohal, in Uttarakhand. Okay. And there are several institutes are also involved, including many IITs like IIT Kharagpur, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, even IIT Chennai or Madras. So all these institutes are working together jointly to generate a good database across the country for the different source parameters from different sectors of pollutions. For example, the domestic sector or the transport or the biomass burning and all these things. So we are working together with various institutes along with some other high altitude research centers in India.
Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee speaks about the involvement of Indian industries in order to reduce air pollution.
Well, to run such a large program and to give a face of success to this national program or national mission, as I said, the National Clean Air Program, what we need is to diagnose the problem, to identify the source. This is our priority. So unless we increase the resolutions of the measurement of the air pollutants across any city or any given area, we can't do that. So we need to install several aerosol samplers, but these are very expensive. So we cannot just install one sampler at each of the corner of the city. Okay, so in that case we have to use some sensors which are low cost. It's called LCS or low cost sensors. So what we do, what India is doing, is installing or manufacturing there are several industries. I'm not mentioning their names, but there are Indian industries, those are manufacturing this kind of low cost sensors, and that can be put anywhere in a city, across the city. It can form a network kind of thing. So that is actually complementing and strengthening Make in India mission of our country. So they are definitely getting benefited.
Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee, emphasizing on the domestic contribution to air pollution, mentions that Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana plays an effective role on reducing air pollution. Let's hear from him.
Domestic emission is a significant contributor to the total air pollutions. So, for example, if you want to mitigate air pollutions in the rural areas, so domestic, you have to go for the controlling the domestic emissions. you have to switch from the biomass burning to some cleaner fuel or something like that, like Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, which is very effective for reducing the emissions from the domestic sector. But we have also think that sometimes the underprivileged, they are not being able to afford the high price of LPG. So that's the reason that our government is also thinking of subsidize those things. So yes, domestic emission is a good contributor, mainly in the rural part of India.
We are thankful to Dr. Abhijit Chatterjee for providing us his valuable time and information on his area of research.